It's for me is like it's one of the clearest lenses we could look through to see this change that we're talking about. And I think maybe it would be helpful to share the journey I went on from like when I initially wanted to report on this till when I finally did.
You're actually, and a lot of I would be
It
curious
started
because
at
a lot of men don't engage with this. Like you are a man who actually finds this interesting and important, and
Mhm.
I feel like that's not as common actually
Oh, I
as
think it's
women.
what what is a woman is a fascinating question, and it's fascinating that we're asking it. Like, so I've been, it started for me in 2013 when I met a mother of a transgender child, and I had just never, and I didn't have any strong thoughts about this. I just thought, well, I've never met somebody who made the decision to let their young child, at the time the child was 6 years old. I was like, 6 years old, already transitioned. What's up? And she told me this really remarkable story about how actually they started the social transition at the age of 3. And I was like, oh, come on, you got to tell me more about this. And it turns out that this mother had a son, but pretty much since the son became verbal, they were saying they were a girl. And since there was any sort of self expression from this child, they gravitated towards things that are more stereotypically seen of as girl stuff. Colors like pink, wanting to wear dresses, have long hair. And by the age of 3, they were pretty much confidently asserting, I am a girl, I am a girl. And this mother was like, I don't know what to do in a situation like this, went looking for resources, and there aren't a ton. And the ones that are out there and easiest to find on the internet say that if you don't affirm, you could really harm. And this mother loves her kid and wants to do the right thing for her kid, and made a decision that she knew was kind of nutso to be like, all right, we're going to change your name. And I, like, right before this child's 4th birthday, like, sent out a mass email to friends and family being like, it's, new name, new gender, this is happening. And like, got social blowback from it. People were not cool with it. Not every uncle writes back like, cool thing. Um, and then, but she did feel it seemed like it was the right decision, and things seemed to be going well. Fast forward, by the time this child was 6 years old, now in the 1st grade, a huge transition happens when they go to public school. Cut their hair, don't want to have long hair anymore, no longer wants to wear dresses, wants to wear clothes that are more typically seen as male, um, becomes friends with pretty much all boys at school, ditches the dolls, is more interested in trucks. And alarm bells are going off for this mom being like, oh, did I just make a huge mistake? And so has a conversation with her kid and says, do we go back to the old name? Like, this is a dialogue. We can make whatever decision. And the kid was like, I don't understand what you mean. I'm still a girl. I'm just a girl who's into this stuff. It doesn't make me less of a girl. And it's just wild because on the outside, at this point, nothing about the person's anatomy. This is a male anatomy, male presenting, but because of that 3-year identification with a woman, wanted to continue to identify as a woman. And this mother had a real question called, what is a girl? Like, what the heck is it? And so Radiolab, I pitched this. They were excited. We started doing interviews. They were moving. The mother was like tearful, and she could tell she just wanted to do the right thing. I took it to these neurologists at Columbia University and was like, what's going on? Is there truth to this whole male brain, female brain? We were reporting it out, and it was an exciting story. And it just took a couple of staffers at Radiolab who essentially confronted our team and said, I don't understand why Andy, a cis white heterosexual male, is so interested in this question of what is a girl. There was a sense of suspicion that I must be trying to dismantle or disrespect trans identities, when I just legitimately didn't know and thought it was interesting. And that killed it. That was enough to kill the story. And it wasn't, I mean, I think by the time I read Jesse Singles, or I saw the reaction to Jesse Singles' Atlantic cover story in 2017, part of me thought, wow, those young staffers saved my career. Because I'm not sure I go on to create The Daily if that episode of Radiolab had ever aired. I didn't realize the kind of backlash that there might be to something like that. But I think that that is a really important thing to know, that like it wasn't that people don't think it's interesting. When I got to the Times, everyone agreed it's one of the most interesting things happening in the world. It's one of the most like intriguing intellectual pursuits you could go down, especially when you start getting into how we would treat children, and this idea of medical treatment for something that many people are now saying is a social construct. But there was a sense in which you would become the next Jesse Singal, and there's no way that you could be careful enough. People saw with Jesse's, that was a very carefully written piece.
my
There was
gosh,
a little,
it was-
there was provocative nature, and I mean, it's the Atlantic, right? They're trying to provoke. Like, it wasn't,
but
like
it was
not
also
provocative.
Jesse. I felt he bent over backwards
Yes.
to be fair. And I think so I think his piece was 2018. So when was this happening at Radiolab that you were describing? Like 2015, 16, around there?
No. It's 2014.
Oh, early, okay,
wow,
earlier
that's
than that.
early,
Okay.
early days.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so when people talked about Jesse's piece or saying, I don't want to be Jesse, were they at the same time able to say, and he did everything right in that piece, and I respect this as a piece of journalism? Or were they kind of throwing the piece under the bus as well?
You know human nature too well to know that they could do that. They had to find, I mean, yes, there was a lot of journalists, especially at the Times, who were like, damn, that was a really good piece, and I can't believe the blowback. And it had the chilling effect that that small amount of angry people on the internet are so famous for sure. But a lot of them would go, yeah, but you know what? He's online too much. And have you seen his Twitter account? He's always fighting with people on Twitter. They'd find some other reason. Yes, he's not guilty of the crime he's being accused of being an anti-trans bigot, but he is guilty of some other kind of social taboo. So I'm not like, don't stand up for him, and like whatever. They'd find some reason to say he was not serious, and maybe the Atlantic should have chosen someone else.